Your typical movie will have the hero prevail and the story end happily ever after, but every once in a while, the opposite occurs and the antagonist reigns victorious, leaving audiences in disbelief. Welcome to Movie Secrets, and in this video, we will be exploring 10 movies where the villain wins. And beware, alongside the triumphant villains, we will be discussing the endings of nearly all of the films listed, so here is a super spoiler alert way in advance. Number 10. The Wicker Man, 1973. The Wicker Man, once described as the Citizen Kane of horror movies, is a 1973 British folk horror movie where director Robin Hardy shakes things up with a winning villain. Starring a legendary cast including Edward Woodward, Diane Cilento, and Christopher Lee, the plot focuses on Police Sergeant Neil Howie as he visits the island Summer Isle to investigate the disappearance of a young girl, Rowan Morrison. Once he arrived, Howie, a devout Christian, quickly realized that the islanders were quite bizarre and essentially in a demonic cult, as they began worshipping pagan Celtic gods of their ancestors, taught children the ways of the maypole and May Day celebrations, and including them in their odd rituals such as placing toads in their mouths to heal sore throats. After speaking with the missing girl's mother, who states that Rowan doesn't even exist, and the island's leader, Lord Summerisle, who hints at a human sacrifice to save their poor harvest festival, Howie is becoming increasingly aware of all of the villains in this cult. But in a shocking reveal, the villain, Lord Summerisle, and his supporters dramatically announced that Rowan was never the intended sacrifice, and that the person who fits their god's requirements was Howie himself. Unlike other horror movie climaxes where the protagonist finds a nearly impossible way to escape, Howie is forced inside a wicker statue of a man and set aflame as the cult sings around him. This horror-filled film not only depicts cults in an unnerving way, but presented the idea that sometimes in the end, the cult wins. Number 9. Chinatown, 1974. Inspired by the California water wars in Southern California in the early 20th century, Chinatown is a neo-noir mystery classic. This movie is known to be unique in many ways, from its selection for preservation for the Library of Congress to its 11 Oscar nominations. But the most unique fact about Chinatown is the antagonist, who not only wins in the end, but isn't even human, rather an institution. The plot involves police investigator J.J. Gittes and Evelyn Mulray, who is hired by to investigate the murder of her husband, Hollis Mulray, chief engineer at the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Gittes is quick to realize the complete corruption surrounding the department and the ruthless battle for power and dominance. Between the mysterious landowners, Evelyn's wealthy and ruthless father, Noah Cross, to suspicious retirement home director Mulvihill and his thugs, the violent competition for power proved to be the ultimate cause for Evelyn's husband's death, as the characters did anything to prevent the investigation and blame Evelyn for the murder. Finally, the wild goose chase comes to an end when Gittes interrogates Noah Cross for the murder. Cross forces Gittes to drive to Chinatown, where Evelyn was hidden, and has Gittes arrested.
What? Take those glasses from him, will you?
Once in Chinatown, however, Cross shoots down Evelyn and orders his gang to release Gittes, leaving him with the famous line,
"Jake, it's Chinatown."
The ending proves the villain of not only Hollis Mulray's murderer, but the die-hard institution of capitalism that shook the 1930s at the time. Chinatown showed that the situation of Big Boss and Little Man, in the end, the Big Boss comes out on top. Number 8. Seven, 1995. With the ensemble cast including Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and Gwyneth Paltrow, the 1995 psychological crime thriller Seven was destined to be both a success and a shocker, as the villain win surprises the audience in the end. The story involved the detectives William Somerset and David Mills as they investigate a set of murders that are inspired by the 7 deadly sins. The victims were revealed by sets of clues, each leading them to murders regarding sins like gluttony, lust, and pride. After Somerset and Mills identify the murderer as psychopath John Doe, they attempt to resolve the case, but Doe turns himself in and offers to show the police the last 2 victims, or else he will plead insanity. The detectives cautiously agree and follow him to a remote location, but are soon interrupted by a delivery van which gives Somerset a box to open. While held at gunpoint by Mills, Joe explains his obsession and envy of Mills' wife, Tracy, and revealed her murder.
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Mills shoots Doe after discovering his murdered head's wife in the box, and this, although kills Doe, completes his final plan, as the last two sins were envy, committed by his murder of Tracy, and wrath, presented by his own murderer. 7 masterfully displays that the villain can win, and his plan can be executed even if they don't survive. Number 7. Star Wars Episode 5: The Emperor Strikes Back, 1980. The second installment of the Star Wars franchise, The Emperor Strikes Back, is famous for its ending, in which the villain Darth Vader and the ominous Empire defeats Luke Skywalker, saying the iconic line,
"No, I am your father."
After his Jedi training, Luke felt the distress of his friends Han, Leia, Chewbacca, and the droids, so he packs up from the planet Dagobah to rescue them. Han and Leia were at Cloud City and a significant amount of trouble as they were captured by Darth Vader from a sneaky deal from Lando Calrissian. Things turned for the worse as Han Solo was forced into carbonite and sold to bounty hunter Boba Fett, and Luke geared up to battle Darth Vader, though very unprepared to spar him. This infamous fight scene resulted in the loss of Luke's arm and the revelation of his real father, and one of the most dramatic villain wins in movie history. Although not as gruesome or frightful as the others on this list, Darth Vader's win for the Empire was one no Star Wars fans would forget. Number 6. No Country for Old Men, 2007. With a setting of a Western-style border town in 1980s Texas, the neo-Western thriller No Country for Old Men places its characters in a wild goose chase for a briefcase with $2 million stashed inside. The main protagonist, Lowland Moss, has come across $2 million in a briefcase while hunting pronghorns, but his decision became increasingly dangerous as the villain, Anton Chigurh, a well-accomplished hitman, closely hunts him after trying to retrieve the money. By making him flee to Mexico, hiding his wife Carla Jean, and even trying to console Woody Harrelson's character, Carlson Wells, for safety, it could be believed that the hero of this western will come out victorious like similar films in the past. But think again. Chigurh vows to retrieve the money and get revenge, and that he does, as he both intentionally and unintentionally kills Moss, allowing him to get what he sought after. The villain Chigurh is described as a force to be reckoned with, as he creeps in every corner and attacks in ways you do not see coming. This not only made him a spectacular antagonist in No Country for Old Men, but also a winning one. Number 5. The Omen, 1976. When you combine children and the Antichrist, you are bound to have a villain that will win in the end. This combination is famously displayed in the 1976 supernatural horror film The Omen. With a demonic child as the villain, not only is this film outrageously scary, but also is one of the many horror movies to pioneer the concept of children being the bad guy. The plot revolves around Robert and Catherine Thorne, whose newborn baby died and adopted a baby who, unknowingly to the wife of Catherine, lost his mother in childbirth. What seems like a wholesome choice goes extremely wrong for the family as the child, Damien, grows more mysterious each day, causing supernatural things to happen in their lives. Damien's actions were no doubt evil, as he nearly hung himself on his 5th birthday, mysteriously invited a nanny, Miss Baylock, terrified animals, endangered the Thorns' new pregnancy, and caused local priest Father Brennan to hint at him possibly not even being human. His parents, especially his mother, grow both distant and petrified of Damien and try to investigate his biological parents to try to prevent the death of their new unborn child. What they find are burial plots that lead the family to believe that Damien is truly the Antichrist, as his biological mother was a jackal. But this discovery is too late, and the Thorns begin to feel the wrath of their haunted child. Damien and his satanic nanny kill both Robert and Catherine, winning the battle between good and evil. In a final scene, you can truly see the unnerving nature of Damien as he watches the funeral procession of his parents with a hauntingly calm smile on his face. Number 4. Gone Girl, 2014. Based on the Gillian Flynn's thrilling novel by the same name, Gone Girl is a psychological thriller that brings the complications of a marriage to a mind-bending level as the lead character, Nick Dunn, is put on a hunt for his missing wife, Amy. Attempting to clear his name as a failed husband and debunk any claims of his sociopathic behavior or plans to murder his wife, Nick reverts back to when they first met to search for her. Amy, however, has made it her mission to punish and incriminate Nick and escape their marriage. While in hiding, She plans to become pregnant, confides in her ex-boyfriend for help, and in many ways displays her role as the actual antagonist of the film. With the audience rooting for Nick in this outrageous form of marital counseling, Amy in the end actually manages to win this long sociopathic battle as she successfully becomes pregnant and continues to rope him into the marriage. It can be hard to tell in Gone Girl who is actually in the wrong throughout the film, but it becomes increasingly clear that whoever you see as the villain has no doubt won. Number 3. Rosemary's Baby, 1968. Considered a hallmark in the horror film genre and a leader in the form of art horror, Rosemary's Baby is a classic film in which the villain wins. However, in this case, the villain is the supernatural and demonic forces around the main character, Rosemary, and Guy, their child. After receiving a pendant from a woman who commits suicide, Guy, Rosemary's husband, expresses the interest of starting a family. They both agree and try to conceive, even eating a chalky chocolate mousse from their oddly elderly neighbors, the Kestevits, for good luck. Instead of normal conception, Rosemary falls under a dream-like state where a demonic force takes over her body, leaving her with weird scratches in the morning. Later on in the film, the couple discovers her abnormal pregnancy and try to resolve some of the painful complications with their doctors. However, the demonic child inside of Rosemary manages to wreak havoc on their lives, turning Rosemary evil with each passing month. In the end, the Kestevits are both revealed as Satanists and tell Rosemary that her child is the spawn of Satan himself. Too far gone in the depths of their demonic pregnancy and horror for information, Rosemary accepts this and chillingly rocks her cradle with her baby inside. Number 2. Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. After the shock of the 80s movie with Empire Strikes Back, it was hard for fans of the franchise to imagine yet another surprising villain win in the movies. But when the prequels arrived over 15 years later, the galaxy once again proved that wherever there is the Empire, there is evil. Revenge of the Sith, the 6th installment and 3rd and final prequel Star Wars film, explored the struggles of Anakin Skywalker as he learns of his wife's pregnancy, continues his fight with the Jedi Order, and most notably battles his conscience as he desires to turn to the dark side of the Force. This battle he ultimately loses, causing the film to take a considerably dark turn. After he commits completely to the Sith in secret, Anakin's actions follow his new Force alignment. He becomes very agitated and cruel as he allows Mace Windu to fall to his death, choosing to save Palpatine, murdering young Jedi during Order 66, fighting his best friend Obi-Wan Kenobi to near death, and worst of all, attacking and killing his wife Padme, resulting in the orphanage of his children Luke and Leia.
You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!
No!
This evil rampage completes itself at the end of the film when, after the battle with Obi-Wan that left Anakin severely dismembered, Emperor Palpatine comes to his side to complete his turn to the dark side, turning Anakin into the legendary villain, Darth Vader. This Star Wars film is nowhere near a happy ending, as we are left with the knowledge of the beginnings of Darth Vader proving to fans the cruel and aggressive hold the Empire had on any of its victims. Number 1. Avengers Infinity War 2018. One of the most recent films on this list, Avengers Infinity War, broke records as one of the highest grossing films of all time and one of the most beloved films Marvel has ever produced. To make it in this video, the action-packed film also made headlines as it contained one of the most powerful and destructive villains to ever grace our movie screens. With both a figurative and literal snap of his fingers, the supervillain Thanos became feared among the Avengers as he rampaged throughout the galaxy with the mission of restoring balance to the universe by killing off half of all life in it. The ensemble superhero team sought out to defeat Thanos by banding together to retrieve the powerful Infinity Stones before the purple villain gets hold of all 6. And naturally, the audience grows worried for the Avengers as this task proves to be nearly impossible, with many of our favorite characters dying in the process. One of the hardest films to watch in all of the MCU, Avengers Infinity War was the first movie in a long time that showed the superheroes not only losing, but getting demolished. In the end, Thanos' plan to destroy half the universe goes without much disruption, and we see many of our favorite planets in the MCU disintegrate. In one of the final scenes, Marvel fans watch in horror as the supervillain wins the battle and sits back to watch the world crumble underneath his fingers. Avengers Infinity War was one of the best films of the year, arguably of all time for the franchise, but for any fan watching a villain so horrible as Thanos win, made this movie very difficult to watch. Did you agree with everything on our list? Tell us about it in the comments below what your favorite cinematic villain is. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos exploring your favorite movies, directors, heroes, and villains, and be sure to ring the bell so you don't miss out on any more movie secrets.